Well, thanks, guys. We've got Adam Bentley and Jordan Mitchell, and this is Tape Studio.
Tape? Yeah, just tape.
Just tape. I love it. Thinking about where'd that come from? Obviously, tape.
We had a different name, and that name was kind of lame.
Yeah.
And then you said tape to me, and that was like, that sounds cool. Like, it's clean.
I was thinking about how we used to use that word as a verb. Remember that?
Yeah.
Tape that for me. Don't
Yeah.
forget to tape that
I
TV
think
show.
that's almost the how I was thinking of it. You know,
Yeah.
just you're taping things. You know,
I love it.
It doesn't have to be on actual tape.
Yeah.
I think it's probably not going to be a lot of the time.
Yeah, I know. It's funny. I was thinking about how long it's been that we've been talking about getting together, and I started. Just to give you a little bit of background. I started following you on Instagram when I found out about your band, The Rest, and this would have been years ago. And I was enjoying your Instagram. This was actually before I was following a bunch of studios and seeing their process, but you were recording in a living room, it looked like.
Yeah, my house.
It was very modest, but it was still cool to see, like, kind of an older home like everyone else has in the city, and seeing mics in the living room. It was a cool Instagram account. And then I saw you tearing down this old garage and then building this, and then what we're here today. So can you give me like a background on how this all came about?
Yeah, so we were in a band called The Rest for 10 years, and near the end of that, we were starting to record in the house, and we didn't really know. I think the idea was we were going to record our stuff, whatever we were going to be, what music we were going to be making. And, Jordan had worked at Catherine North for a lot of years. I had worked there too when Dan Aiken was still living, and it just seemed like when the band was ending, we had all of this stuff, this musical stuff, and it was like, what do we do with all of this?
Yeah.
Because we realized most of it was ours. So we should just set up a studio and record things. And then we started doing some recordings for a few other people, Edgar Bro being one of them who we're still working with now. And it was exciting, and we thought it was really good. And then we had this this building that needed to come down, and Jordan and I just kind of looked at it and I think said, why don't we just make this into something?
So what was it, a shed or a garage?
It was like an old coach house that we were going to fix, and then the city didn't want us to fix it the way we wanted to fix it, so we just built a new building.
And they let you tear it down?
Yeah, they were wanting us to tear it down, I think.
Yeah, that's cool. So they're coach houses, eh? Because you know what, there's a lot of, and I wonder how many other studios are like this, but in Hamilton, the houses that have deep lots that go out into an alleyway, I don't know if you go to an alleyway.
We go to an alleyway, yeah.
They have those big buildings, and they're not necessarily garages. So I didn't realize they're coach houses.
Yeah, I guess originally.
Originally, yeah.
That's cool.
So it was in bad shape.
Yeah, originally we were talking about just fixing that, and it was like there was going to be so many charges for variances to actually make it what we needed it to be that it was like financially
just best to tear it down.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad we did, because we got to build the space that we wanted to.
Is it stressful in a way when you can build from scratch? Because my whole history of studios has been, I have this one room in the basement, I'm going to make it work. I have this attic, I have to make it work. But to think I can now build from scratch, how do you know what you want?
I didn't really think about it
Yeah,
too much.
you did a fair amount of research, though, into just like materials. Like Adam, way back in the day, used to work at Arona.
Yeah,
and so
it was originally a Lansing.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, you seem to know your stuff when it came to materials.
I'd gone through a major renovation, fixing up an old home about 6-ish years ago now, and that really helped build to this. So when we did almost all of this build ourselves, other than the structure, we were putting up the walls.
Great.
We had a little bit of help with the ceiling above this ceiling, that you can't see, that's actually stopping a lot of the sound from coming in here.
Nice.
But we're still not quite done. There's still a few things. There's still a few areas we have to work on to deaden some sound a bit, the door being one of them.
And you live back here in the house?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Is that do you like having a studio? This is in a way, it's like its own building, it's a commercial studio. Do you like having it on your property? Is it convenient? Or is there an advantage to getting in a car and driving? I mean, I guess you would know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty close, so it's not that far. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of nice sometimes just mentally leaving it.
Yeah, that's true.
I've always been such a homebody that I can stay, and I work from home too.
Right.
During the day, I work from
Right.
the house, and I can be in the house for 3 days and not realize I haven't left.
Are you okay that we're putting you on camera and putting you out into the world?
Yeah. So and that's
Blur his face.
we're gonna have to do the voice.
The deep voice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
I'll get the format machine out.
That's no problem. You can do that.
But no, I haven't found it too difficult. I found it harder actually to work on my own stuff than originally had planned, because if there's something else going on, or you just can't be out here every day,
Right.
or you'll go insane. So
Right.
I've found like, okay, well, I've got this evening free. Like I've got 4 hours. I should just jump out there. But this is the only 4 hours I'm going to have, and that's the break I need.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
if I don't have that, then I start not being able to create.
That's a good point.
Good work.
Yeah, no, that's interesting.
I find this is a good space for me because it feels like it's in between being at I'm going to a professional studio, I'm on the clock, and there's all this stuff, and I need to like maximize everything, and that just kind of time when you are working on something at home where you get to explore, and,
Right.
and if the results lead to nothing, it's okay because you can just kind of
Right.
you feel free enough to make mistakes and do whatever. And this
Yeah.
is kind of like somewhere in between
Hybrid.
for
Yeah.
me. You know?
Yeah. that's cool.
I spent an hour on a part last weekend, and it ended up being nothing. And it doesn't really matter because I came up with 8 other things that
Yeah.
worked really well and I was super happy with. And the one thing didn't work, but because it's our own space, well, it's only my time that I was.
Yeah.
Now, I think we run into the problem where we don't have that much time. So we try to work as efficiently as possible too.
But I think making those mistakes are just so necessary. I think trying the bad ideas, and I always find in mixing in the box, I find that I'll just throw on so many effects and so many plugins just to get myself to the place where I take them all down. I shut it all off, and it simplify the mix after. I find that.
Yeah, you have to find out, like, if you think you know everything, then you're done.
Yeah.
And also, if you think that what you did before isn't worthwhile, then you're done.
Yeah.
Like, you have to build on something, I think, as much as you have to find new things all the time. I hope every recording we make is just like, you hope a little bit better, whatever better is.
Right.
I don't know exactly what that means, but I know when I hear it.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I've been challenging like some of the one record we're working on right now with Timid the Brave. I'm trying to verbalize. I want this to be different. I want this to be interesting, but not different for the sake of being different, or, what's the word? Experimental. You know what I mean? Like sometimes you force yourself to be experimental. But I like what you said. I know you know it when you hear it.
Yeah, for me, that's like I've learned through being in a band and working with we had a large group of 7 people and trying to make records that were in our heads, but we didn't know how to do that.
Yeah.
And trying to explain that to our producer was probably one of the most frustrating things he ever had to go through, because we had these ideas that you would listen to a guitar part and you go, that doesn't make any sense with what that guy's playing.
Yeah.
But then you'd eventually get there because we just keep going at it and going at it and going at it.
Yeah.
And that's how I still see it now. Like, I just want what's coming out of the speakers to be that thing that gets me excited.
Yeah.
And until I get to that point, I'm just going to keep doing things.
Yeah.
So sometimes we finished an EP with Single Mothers, and it started on a Saturday. We recorded Saturday, Sunday. The whole thing was done by the Friday. We weren't working every day on it. And it just came together. But you got that feeling. It was like every move we were making seemed to be the right move quickly.
Yeah.
I always find it challenging when you have an experience like that. When you're working on a new experience, you just want it to work that way. I'm trying to figure out what was the ingredient that made that session go so well, or made that song come together so easily.
It usually doesn't have anything to do with us, recording or producing the record. It usually has to do with the people that are coming in.
The song itself.
How prepared you are. They had properly demoed stuff. So they knew. They had a good sense of themselves.
They've done, this wasn't their first time doing this either. And it seems like with that band, and they come in and it's very off the cuff, but there's a method to that madness that was inspiring to look at. And some people, it's the first time doing it, and you have to figure out what's going to work for them. And we learn, hopefully, at the same time. But I think for both of us, it's not about us imprinting ourselves on their project, but their project doing the opposite.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, for sure.
It's about their project, at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And if we're not representing them properly, then we're failing.
Yeah. Well, good for you. That's cool. I want to ask you about roles and relationships with you two guys. Because I've been to a couple studios now, and I think maybe 2 or 3 of them has been a couple of guys. Boxcars, 3 guys. Schoolhouse was 2 guys. And then on the other end of the spectrum, Michael Keir, who had been in a partnership before and then out of one. So talk to me about how that works and how that dynamic works and what your roles are.
Well, we've kind of known each other for 20 years now. So,
it's probably getting close to 20 years.
So I think in a lot of ways we kind of grew up in music very tandemly. So it was always hey, I'm excited about this thing. I'm excited about that thing. So I feel like there's almost a gelling of kind of ideas now when we work on things. It's
nice.
He can explain things to me that I can get reference points really quickly because we kind of, hey, have you known this thing?
That's
you know
cool.
that thing. So
that's a good way to describe it.
I think most of the time people come in here, and occasionally it's come up where they don't understand that that's really equal in terms of the partnership. Even if one of us is sitting there and you don't think anything's being said, I might just give a look over to Jordan. He might be at the board, and he knows what that look probably means.
Yeah, it means it's probably peaking that thing.
or it's this, I could give a look and be yeah, this is the take, or we're going to have to do something about this. Yeah. This is a problem.
Do you have unique roles or unique strengths in here?
I don't think about it too much.
No. It's a strange thing. Adam got into the actual recording game a little bit later than I did. I worked at Catherine North. I mean, he did too, but you were kind of doing a little bit of a different job.
More of the business stuff, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So I had a little bit of a head start when it came to the nuts and bolts recording things. Yeah. So there was early on when we were in the house, there was a little bit of kind of learning, but Adam really got the psychology well in advance, because when we were working in the rest, there was so much kind of internal production work going on.
Right.
So that, and plus you were around the actual Pro Tools recording stuff enough that it's just it absorbed in, I think.
Yeah.
It was funny, we started in the house, and I thought it was going to be a really uphill battle to actually be working at the desk. And then quickly I looked at it, it was I've been staring at these sessions for 10 goddamn years. And it was just within 6 months. And definitely Jordan still has he's had more hours and more engineering time. So if there's some sort of issue on that end, that
it's funny what you say about Pro Tools, because I think about my buddies who I do music with who aren't engineers, and probably most of them are familiar with Pro Tools. They can at least arm a track, hit record, new playlist. That's basically it, So, but it's funny, you're right. It's because they've been in the room just as long as you have in a way, working on their projects.
Jordan will be going through a few of these things, I guess 4-ish years ago now, and I kind of be looking and going, oh, okay, let me try that. And it instantly do it, and it'd be oh, that's there, and it would take one time. Now, there was other things, that as we got more and more involved with our own process, that's when it started becoming actually more difficult, because I had to, it wasn't just okay, this is how Pro Tools works. It's how is Pro Tools going to work for me, and how is all this gear going to work for me, and having to think about that. And that was the harder.
When you share a desk and a setup, is there certain way? Do you guys end up having to work the same way because you share the same space?
We often switch. Like it'll be like one day, one guy. We don't even say it. It's just kind of like.
Oh, he's sitting at the desk. I'm not going to sit at the desk right now.
Yeah, like some days where we're doing drums, like I like being there just for like speed of certain things.
Right.
But then it's not like that's a set thing either. A lot of times.
So what you're saying is you're better at Pro Tools. Is that what you're saying? You're just better.
He's definitely better at Pro
said that a couple times.
Yeah. I'm not saying that.
No, there's no doubt that Jordan's better at Pro Tools than I am. But I also now, I feel pretty comfortable. Like either of us could run a session or by ourselves, and it wouldn't be a problem. But the session's going to be better if we're both there.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, for sure.
We miss less. There's more ideas, and I think both of us, as much as possible, don't have much of an ego. It comes up very, very rarely. Usually, like maybe once a major project where like you can tell one of us is fighting for an idea that the other one just doesn't get, and then there'll be like tension. But it dwindles. Like someone will go outside, and then you come back in, and it's like, what were we talking about again? It doesn't. Well, even
after
matter.
20 years, it's not the tension's not the same as it is for.
We survived so much worse with the band. Like nothing, no situation that comes in here is like,
Yeah.
The psychological aspect is really easy for me to navigate compared to our group of insanity that we were in for 10 years.
Yeah.
I much prefer it too in terms of like when you're in a session, not having to worry about both the technical aspects and the like psychological things simultaneously. Like, because there's occasionally times where like I'm obsessing about, what is that? Is a clicking sound or something that's coming through,
right?
And he's hearing the, maybe we should change the tone in your guitar. And if he wasn't catching it at that point where I'm obsessing about this thing,
for sure. Yeah.
then maybe one of these points gets missed. But I feel like we can just catch more things.
I think that's great.
The one thing that everyone comes in here and they can't believe how much we get done in a day. Our days are actually normally shorter than most studios we've ever been in. Because of my work in PR, I'm also going into studios and hearing new recordings. And the days are usually quite long. Our days are rarely over 9 hours.
Yeah,
we don't take breaks because there's two of us. So if somebody needs to, recharge and you run inside, you have a bite of a sandwich and then you're back in or whatever. Mm-hmm. Because once you have dinner break, everyone's brains turn to mush.
Yeah.
Like everyone comes back and just wants to fall asleep on the couch or something.
That's true.
So for us, I just want to work like the high efficiency, but also at people's best, getting the best out of them. So when are people, maybe they need 2 hours to warm up, so we take it a little bit slower getting into it, and you realize that quickly. But usually someone can come in here, we've almost all ready to go. Everything's set up. We can probably start tracking within an hour, even for a full band.
Wow, that's amazing. I find, it's funny you say that, because I find that when I'm working on a record, the person who's engineering or mixing or setting up the mics is really the one who's doing the most work, because the drummer plays his song and then he's done for the day, or a couple tunes. And for the most part, like at any one time, 75% of the band is just sitting on the couch. But you're always going. You're hearing that noise, or you're hitting record, and a lot of times the bands can't help out in any way. So that's really cool that there's two of you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
great.
And as you can tell, like I'm thinking about this more than I ever think about when we're in the room.
Yeah, I know. Like, it's not natural.
If Jordan's sitting at the we're starting a drum day and he's sitting here, then I'll sit here and I'll work on the levels there, and I'll start talking to the band, and it's vice versa.
Yeah.
Some days I know okay, he just come from work or had I'll do like the really focused job.
Yeah.
And vice versa. Like I'll come out after a full day doing PR and he'll be here. So it really it works out, and it also just like, I don't know, we always see things kind of like you're sculpting sound in a way.
Right.
Like we've been doing a lot of mastering, and I think the reason why we've been gravitating towards that is because for us, it's always been about sonics, you know? Like, as a guitar player, I never cared about doing scales. I cared about how it was like, how do I make my guitar sound like it's blowing up?
Yeah.
Right? Like, in a controlled way, and be able to go from that into, like, this very pretty sound.
Right, yeah.
So, and it's the same with recording. I just want to, like, be able to sculpt these songs into their best version. And that's what, so we've been doing mastering, and having, like, both of us there, it keeps our tastes kind of in check. Like, you're not going too extreme with something.
So you guys mix together?
Like, we usually do parts individually, and then we come together kind of near.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's like a kind of you get an overall day, I get an overall day, and sometimes one person leads off, sometimes the other person leads off, and then we kind of just meet in the middle, and
That's
it's like,
cool.
okay, where is this sitting now?
It's usually just depends on schedules.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
single mothers, I knew I could get in here early the one day.
Yeah.
Edgar's, I was, like, sick for a month, right? Like, so I wasn't really working. So those things can also keep the ball
no, that's cool. Listen, I want to talk about some of this stuff. So let's clear these chairs out, and I want to look at some of the other things you got in here.
Sure.
So let's do that right now. This desk is gorgeous, and Jeff made this for you.
Yep.
Jeff Winans.
Jeff Winans.
How did you get hooked up with him making you a desk like this?
So we had this extra wood from us taking down the coach house, and I just said, "Hey, if anybody wants this wood, it's free. I'm not going to do anything with it." So he came over and he was grabbing a bunch of the wood, and I think the first time he just grabbed some, and then we'd met before, and then he came back and said, "Hey, we had this really shitty desk we were using." And we were planning on getting somebody who didn't know what it was. And he says, "Hey, if you ever need anything built, like maybe a desk for the studio, I'd be happy to put something together with, like, all this wood that you gave us." So you can see like our hammer marks here from taking down the studio.
So I did not know that. So I knew that Jeff made it, but I had no clue. That is such a great connection that this was
The old building.
the old building.
Yeah, so
Unbelievable.
this and the diffuser wall, which we'll look at later.
Yeah.
That's the old building too, for the most part.
Oh, wow. That's really cool.
So it's still alive.
It's beautiful. It's really nice.
Yeah, he did an unbelievable job.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
And
yeah,
then
and
these units here, too.
he took our specs too. Like, he was kind of like, "What do you want?" And we're like, "What do we want?"
Yeah.
And
That's cool. And you have these little 500 series space underneath the monitors. That's great.
Yeah, it was perfect.
Let's talk about these mics. You grabbed just a couple of the mics. I've seen one of these before. This is a ribbon mic.
Yep.
What number is this?
260.
260. And this would be electrics.
Yeah, we've been using it on electrics a bunch, and we use it on
Strings
and hats.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't
Yeah,
know
it's
that.
great on hats.
That's cool. What's this?
It's the M201.
Okay.
So that is something
What'd you use that for?
we always use now in guitar, electric guitar.
Really?
Never, ever. Like, basically, we're just getting rid of our 57s
Is that right?
Yeah.
and replacing them all with those.
Wow.
Yeah.
Who makes them?
Snares, too.
Never seen this before.
Bear as well.
Oh.
Yeah. Where do we?
Are they expensive?
Not too crazy.
No,
I
they're
think
not too crazy.
four or
They're
something.
harder to, like, you don't see them pop up online as much as, like, 57s are there all
Is
the
it,
time.
you said, so you're replacing a 57, but is it condenser or is it dynamic?
No, it's dynamic.
Yeah.
No way.
So it's basically, I think it was Albini that said it, and we took it with a grain of salt until we got it in here.
Yeah.
He was like, if the 57 was a good microphone, this is how,
This would be it.
how it would sound.
Really? I'd have to hear that.
And
That's cool.
we just saw, it was on lists, like, we'd heard good things, and we were miking a guitar amp with a 57 and with that, and we're going to use them both after we got it. And we A-B'd them, and they were both through the same preamps, same setup,
Yeah.
same, I think there was 4 speakers on the guitar amp, and it was like someone put a sock over the 57 compared to that
Yeah.
one.
So tell me, what is the difference in sound then?
It was just like a clarity, especially in the high end.
Yeah.
Like with very aggressive volume.
Right.
it's great. So it's also an amazing microphone on a snare.
It almost sounds like you're running it through an EQ. It seems to like catch the right details of everything you want to have.
A little less mud.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Interesting.
So we use that a lot of the time with
I've got to hear that.
421, which we didn't pull out, but we've been using that
Right.
a lot of the time. We'll do both of those on a electric guitar
Right.
Amp, and it's been a great combination.
That's cool. I've got to hear that. And then this is the RE20. Is that right?
Yeah.
And what would you use this for? Is this for vocals maybe? Or?
Vocals sometimes. So we've got both of these out, and it's kind of
an 87, yeah.
depends on the vocalist. But between those two, we seem to always find the right, you'll find the right presence for and character for that person.
So this
sometimes in tandem.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting. So would this be more aggressive vocalist, more of a?
Sometimes.
Sometimes, sometimes it'll surprise you. The opposite, right?
I've been finding that with the SM7B, which I know is kind of the, competitor to the RE20 in a way, but which is just a pretty nice sounding dynamic. And we used to use that all the time on vocals, and then I was mostly now using the 414. But I feel like sometimes, and so I've kind of like put it in a box as that's the mic you use when someone comes in here to yell, or when someone comes in here to who's got like a harsh voice. But I need to use it more.
Except that probably like Luke from the Dirty Nail, who has the loudest voice ever, we use the 87 always.
Really?
His voice sounds better with the 87.
I feel like I'd be afraid to have that in the room with a punk band.
And he's probably like twice as loud as any. It's not just like the aggression, but the actual volume. He's probably the only vocalist that I ever thought, can they hear this outside? Like, there's no chance you can hear a vocalist in this room.
Wow.
And with him, it made me question it. But yeah, like
that's cool.
The RE20 was something that really worked well for me. Where the SM7, like it's a good microphone, but I feel like it's never been a great one for full character for me. It's just like a really solid microphone.
It's true. Do you use that on kick or anything else other than vocals?
Bass amp.
Bass amp. Okay, cool.
And upright too. We've used it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. And then this is gorgeous here. This looks quite vintage.
Yeah, it's what, 70s?
Or early 80s.
Early 80s.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's great.
So it ends up on lots of things.
It's our workhorse. It's always
Acoustic.
good on like
acoustic.
almost everything.
Yeah. That's good. Good for you. Well, those are beauty. So take me through here. What's this unit here?
So that's a Lindell a preamp, which also has a EQ
built in.
Nice.
And it's not the like greatest EQ, but occasionally it's just like we usually use it for overheads, where it's kind of like you just want a little bit more something.
Right. Is it? I can't see, but is it shelves or what type of EQ does it have? Just a little high shelf and low shelf? Or?
Yeah, I believe it's just those. It's pretty simplistic.
It's funny. I was using the Vintech. My buddy has a 473 from Vintech, which has a preamp and then has a high shelf and a low shelf, and then you can switch the frequencies where it starts. And it really is nice to just with a snare or overheads, like you said, with your preamp, just to be able to tweak things a little bit. You're still gonna change it in the mix a little bit, but it's nice to have that.
They're really like solid for us. Basically, only get used for that.
Yeah,
they're just only used for overheads, pretty much.
Do you have two of them?
We have two of them.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's cool.
And then we have the Chandler next to it, which gets used a lot.
Okay.
And
what do you like about that?
I like that it has you can get some nice harmonic distortion out of that one.
Yeah.
So again, aggressive sounds, that's often a go-to.
Right.
It's cool on snares.
That's cool.
It's cool on vocals too.
Yeah.
And this guy here, I've first heard of these Black Lion guys from you because you posted about them years ago, and they have the same name as your company.
Yeah, somebody
which came first?
recommended them, and then I forgot about them, and the company name was first, and I wasn't gonna get them, and then something else popped up, and it was like talking about it and talking about the hardware behind it, and I was like, oh, this is really interesting, and they're only $300.
Yeah, they're
or-
really inexpensive.
or they're a little bit more money now.
Sure.
I think before we got the 500 series case, we looked at they have a 2-channel.
Like
Yeah.
a desktop.
Little guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen that before. What kind of sound are they? What are they similar to?
They kind of remind me of like a 1073.
Right.
They're like really warm and very simple in their build.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe a little bit more aggressive sounding than a 1073.
Okay.
Yeah, like when you push it.
When you push
sure.
it
Cool.
pushes for it. And they've become like an amazing workhorse for us, especially if we want, again, to have, 2 channels of something.
Yeah, it's great that you have
We end
two.
up using them a lot. They've been really great on guitars for us.
Cool.
And they're simple. It's just like
Yeah.
warm it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And a 512?
Yep. And
Oh, man.
the 512 is a
I love the
classic.
API stuff. Yeah.
Just clean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Should be like clean sounding preamp in a dictionary should be that probably. And then our big workhorse is the
This guy.
1073.
Yeah. I've got the same one except the rack mount unit. Does this have a filter on it or?
No.
Yeah. I have the exact same one but the 1U rack unit. I just got it and it comes with a power supply, but it's just incredible. It's so beautiful. I want 100 of them. Mike has 4 of them, I think.
Yeah, I think we'll look at the 500 series maybe to complete complete our 16 channels. We still got a few open right now. We've been just waiting, and the more and more we've been working in here, it was like we should just get these because every time I only want to record
We just go to
Is
that
this
thing.
your main? This is your main
Yeah,
guy?
yeah.
it probably gets
Yeah.
of anything we're recording, it's 50% on the recordings because after you do beds, it's often like, channel that gets used a bit, tours get used a bit.
It's true. Most of the time you're using just 1 or 2 mics for the rest
And
of the recording.
we tried
Yeah.
a lot of the other ones out when we first had them, and then it was like, I just know with this one that I'm going to be able to work with it.
Yeah. I want to find more about them and how they work because I was just shocked with. I tried it out with bass recently, DI, and I was shocked how it just kind of carved off the transients.
Right.
Like you could see it. When I looked at the wave after, I could just see how it was just soft. And I had another preamp in there, and they were just attack. Every hit was attack. And this was just pushes the transient in. It was so smooth. So smooth.
Yeah, for
It's
sure.
really cool. What's that called? What's the box called? Is it a DMP?
Oh, DMP, yeah.
DMP, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the first piece of gear for recording I ever owned. I got it when I was first doing PR, like really early, and didn't even know I was doing PR.
Oh, really?
I was just
Yeah.
helping some friends, and some guy from New York reached out to me. I don't know how he found out about me because there was nothing online about me. And he says, "Hey, will you work my record?" And I was like, "I sure, I guess I can." He's like, "I'll give you one of these."
Oh my gosh.
And at the time, I remember being like, "No, like I don't do trades." And this is the only trade I've ever made for ever
Lucky.
for work, and it's the greatest thing ever.
No kidding.
For sure.
That's amazing. Now you're always looking for trades.
Yeah. If ever,
On your website, on your PR website, you should just say, "We'll work for BAE."
yeah, we'll work for BAE. That's it.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
I'll take original Neve.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
true.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let's move over here. So, Catherine North, we were talking about these guys earlier, and I've seen. I think it was just at Boxcar where I saw the LA2A.
Which we have the LA the
Oh yeah. Oh, the CN2A. Okay, cool.
CN2A, yeah.
Yeah. They have one. Who is it? Ben was saying that they get to hang on to it until he sells it, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
we own these ones.
Yeah,
Oh, cool.
after he built them, he just kind of like dropped them off everywhere.
They call that the puppy dog effect, right? In sales, where it's like, here, just take the puppy home for a couple days, and then I'll bring it back. Okay, so what's up top here?
That's some of Tristan's 1272
Okay.
preamps. So
Okay.
right now,
They had these too at Boxcar, yeah.
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 So
Cool.
That was his original.
Okay.
I mean, he's changed the look of it a couple times, but
he used to have
back-
Comic Sans.
back in the day when Dan Aiken found Tristan and Tristan started getting into that world. That was the first one he made, and I remember Dan like freaking out because he was A/Bing them versus the actual 1272s he had, and was like, "This is as good."
Wow.
And I mean, there's like, I think after you worked it a bunch, there's like you find differences, but it is a remarkably good pre.
So this is a low high pass filter? Is that how it works?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Can you explain to me, I don't know, maybe you don't know, but because I certainly don't know, what is a 1272 like versus a 1273? 1073, sorry.
So
1072?
the 1272 is just, it's not a traditional preamp, actually. I think it's just a line amp or something. So it's basically a simpler form of the, like, it has some of the same transistors, I think, as the 1073.
Okay.
But it's not like a complete unit. There was a section of a board, I think, that they took out and they turned them into. They originally weren't supposed to be standalone units. That's my understanding of it, at least.
That makes sense.
Again, I'm more about what the sound comes out of them. And so we have also a BAE 1272. That they didn't make many of them.
Where is that?
It's a top row.
Oh, okay. So when they were Brent Averill.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. And so that's a 2-channel too.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was wondering what that power supply was back there. Okay, that's cool. So you have 4,
6.
or is there 6? So, you have
So
6.
right now we just have.
So what would you use those for?
So usually Tristan's 1272s get used a lot of time on like the full band stuff.
Right.
I think we've been using them on toms a bunch recently.
Yeah.
And they've been sounding great. I actually like. I think they're kind of. We'd gone through a bunch of. You know, when people aren't here, sometimes too, it was like, well, that's good.
Yeah.
And they definitely have just they do. They've been doing really nice things for full band toms. And the other 1272s we just got functioning because it was a demo model. They didn't make many of them, of the
Brent Averill?
The Brent Averill.
Okay.
So we're still like experimenting, I think, exactly what we're going to use them
Cool.
for.
That's
It's one of our, we've had it for a long time, but it's only just now been functioning properly.
Right. Oh, cool.
And Tristan actually made it function properly.
He gets mentioned everywhere we go. So this 2A here, this optical one, so this is Tristan's as well?
Yep.
And what would that be for? That's...
We've been using a lot on vocals. We've sometimes used them on overheads. We've used it on
we've kind of kept it in our chain, and it's kind of like occasionally where it's like, let's see if this is a taste. So like it pops up a lot of times, even when we're not even planning to use it. It's kind of like,
this is working. Maybe we just alter this a little bit.
Yeah.
And then we have his Pull-Tac below, which is his Pull-Tac clone, and we've used that a lot.
Is that
on
stereo?
vocals.
Yeah, it's
yes.
2 channels.
Yeah, 2 channels.
Cool. And sorry, what do you use that for?
A lot on vocals. We've done a lot of acoustic guitars too. Over time. I find it's best on individual instruments more than on a bus. But
That's cool.
It's great on those individual instruments.
Yeah, for sure. Especially like I find when you're tracking vocals and you can get things to cut through without them having to be blaring in headphones.
Right.
With that, just like gets it a little bit more
because
in
it's
space.
passive.
Yeah. Like I would say that as a vocalist, having that in always just makes me like 10% more comfortable.
Yeah.
And it doesn't end up giving you like unfortunate harmonics.
Right.
As long as you can dial it in.
Yeah.
So that's, again, like you need a little bit of time. You have to be a little bit patient because you have to listen to the vocalist and you're hoping to just like start hearing when they're really hitting their stride.
Right.
But some guys, when they only have like a couple takes in them, you have to like work really, really fast with it.
Well, that's cool.
So it not every time do we use it on a vocalist, but I'd say a good chunk of time.
Do you mix with it on a bus ever? Or?
We have. We've, I mean, not on a bus, but we've definitely run things back out to it
Yeah.
and run them back in.
Yeah, like the bus hasn't.
Like we haven't done a bunch of stuff going
Right.
into it.
Yeah.
That's cool. Well, that's cool. I'd really like to hear it. Okay, this is going to sound weird, but this Tascam thing is actually the headphone amp. I saw this online. Somebody had it in their studio down south, and I just thought it was the coolest thing. Like it.
It's unbelievable.
It's so good.
Why is it so good? It's just a headphone amp. You don't need it to sound great.
No, it just like it gives you the right amount of volume. It works. So it like often you get people being like, oh, I like, can I get more? Like, and it doesn't have separate channels, so you have to do everything in the box.
Right.
But we've never had a problem with it. Where every
mono.
other studio I've ever been, the headphone unit always has problems. Like either it starts cutting out, or it doesn't have enough headroom, or it sounds weird, or like.
Doesn't that always seem like the weirdest thing to have spent all this money on having all this great gear, and then when it's time to actually do it, you're going through some PreSonus piece of junk.
Yeah.
You know, like it sounds like like nothing.
But that's true. I found that in Guelph for $40.
Oh man.
And we were like about to we were looking. There was a Behringer one we had that someone had given us.
Yeah, I have. I think I have like an Alto or Art or something.
And we couldn't get enough volume out of it. Like I was like, people are going to be listening to distorted crap because we're going to have to boost it so much.
Where did you find it? It was a pawn shop? Or?
No, it was a guy online. I was honestly that week we're like, we're going to buy a piece of shit. And instead,
so cool.
That I just drove up there.
That's awesome.
When we were in the house, we just needed like 2 channels.
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
And it works great. You can split. It doesn't. The sound stays popping.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a weird thing you don't think about, but if the band isn't feeling good, if you're playing live off the floor and you've got a shitty headphone mix.
Yeah. And it's why you pump in reverb, sometimes to a vocalist or to the band, just so you get a better performance or whatever it takes.
Totally. And that still might happen.
I'm interested in these Tascam. Like, there's a line. They have like a lot of different units.
There was a bunch of units.
Yeah, I want to.
At the time, I remember looking at.
I bet they're going to be really expensive over the next couple of years.
Maybe. Like, that better never break.
Yeah.
Because it's that, or you spend ungodly amounts on.
Yeah, having your own mixes.
Right. Yeah. No, that's cool. Okay, so you're running the Apollo, and like you said earlier, it was Pro Tools. We were talking about this at a show a couple months ago. Is the Apollo something new for you guys?
We had it, 3 years? 4
We've had it always out here.
Okay. Maybe it was UAD or something that we were talking about.
Yeah, like we just keep getting more and more of the UAD plugins.
Yeah.
I've
never used them. They're
destroy.
Really?
On another level.
On another level. Like we had a lot of the waves of equivalents that they both have for years and years and years, like 10 years now.
Yeah.
And putting them side by side, it's just like you go, oh, we shouldn't even have the waves on ever. Like
there's like a dimension that just gets cut off with the other ones compared to them,
And when you're talking
there
about,
goes our sponsorship. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. and we still use some waves.
I'm just joking.
Totally.
There's some great waves, but usually stuff that UAD hasn't cloned yet to make me realize that they're not that good. And the problem is you run out of space. There's only so much DSP space you can use. So some of the
that scares
the
me.
more awesome ones, like I would like to have a massive passive on so many things, but it takes up so much space.
Right.
So but it also, you don't go crazy that way. But instead of like we can't buy right now, all of these pieces of gear that cost $5,000. Mm-hmm. So we can get that equivalent.
Right. Yeah.
And it's really like we were going heavy really quickly into hardware, and again we're trying to do this in a reasonable manner, I guess. And then I couldn't think about, like, in my head, spending a lot of money on software was always like, I'm never going to do that. And then we got a few of these plugins when we got the Apollo, and it was like, oh my God, we're gonna slowly be buying these.
Yeah.
Because it just saves you so much money, and we also get to learn with them too.
Yep.
It's really easy to interact with them on the computer.
Well, it's a lot different than buying, spending $150 when they're on sale versus $5,000 for the actual piece or whatever.
We may sometimes you go if you read about them more and you realize what they're missing, and you go, well, maybe one day I'll buy a $5,000 unit, but maybe not. Like maybe you find other things that they haven't been able to get that close.
But there's some guys from a different era than us who have the originals, and they're going this way. So who knows? I think it's just
you can get lazy. Good. I think within the box for sure, and I never want to be like so stuck in my ways that I wouldn't
open template A or template B.
Yeah, no, it's true.
But they're really helpful, and I think you can't just say, well, all these great recordings from this era and nobody uses any plugins. Well, then you're going to be missing out on maybe what you're able to do now.
Right.
And it's funny, a lot of these analog only, and not everyone, but analog only situations where people are like, we need this board that costs $100,000, and you listen to the recordings back, and it's like, this sounds like it's a flavorless 1986 ADAT recording instead of like this amazing thing, because they're missing maybe like, okay, they've got the board, but there's no way to convert it properly, or you're still going into making digital files, and you don't have a way to do that, or there's something missing.
Yeah.
We're slowly purchasing recording gear because we're making sure they're pieces that hopefully will
keep forever.
Yeah.
We want to know them too. Like when we get something new, it's like you really need to take the time to like figure out what it does and what you like about it. Because if you just keep moving on, you won't actually build that into your repertoire. You'll just have it.
I feel like I don't know the pieces, not just in like a few months, but a few years potentially.
Oh yeah, it's so true.
And then it's the Chandler was one where it was like, oh yeah, this is pretty cool. And then we just like kind of switched how aggressive we were with a few different things, and what we were using on it was like, oh my God, the Chandler is amazing. Like it went from like, yeah, this is good, but I'm probably going to use these four before that, to being like, I think this is probably the second most used in the last 6 months.
Wow. Yeah. That's cool. No, it's true. Like I think a lot of us have to challenge ourselves to take a piece of gear that we have and use it in a different way, on a different instrument, a different mic.
And you have to use them properly. You can have amazing pieces of gear. You can have everything that's we were talking earlier. You could have like the top 50 on Sweetwater or whatever.
Yeah.
You could have all those and not have any idea what to do with them, or use them improperly, and then actually make worse recordings.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And I often see that online. It's like, you'd be on Instagram, you'd be like, oh man, this rack is amazing. I wonder what the studio does. And you listen to what they're making, and it's like, this is horrendous.
I don't understand that. I don't understand.
Because
that.
if you can buy a lot of things at once. We bought a bunch of this at once, but you have to keep, I think, approaching them.
Well, you can buy gear, but you can't buy taste.
Right? That's true. Yeah. That's true. What do we got over here? Oh, sorry. Tell me about the monitors here. What are these? These Yamahas?
Yeah. What are these?
HS8s.
HS8s.
They're big. They're quite big.
They're. We were looking for something that was going to be kind of like an NS10,
but not an NS10.
But not an NS10, because like it's
something nicer.
Just kind of makes you.
We knew we were only going to have one main speaker for probably the first couple of years, and the NS10s, they're great speakers that to have in a studio.
They're just kind of no fun.
There's no fun.
Right.
They're uninspiring. So
you
want to have
one. You want to have them paired with something, probably.
Yeah.
So I think one of the next things probably is upgrading. Like keeping these, I love these, but upgrading and getting something that's,
Yeah, like I think you can make the argument that these monitor a little bit bright, and so that you compensate in a way that's maybe not getting as bright in a mix or something.
And I just want the AB, and so that's something like in the last year has been on my mind a lot, so we've been kind of going deep. I don't know what we're getting yet, but I think I'm getting closer.
Getting closer. You know, I admire your approach, though, because I personally, I mean, I've been building my collection for, really only been taking it serious in the last 2 or 3 years, but over the past 10 years, buying things and then selling them and upgrading. But I really like the process of researching things and saving up money and slowly working towards getting that one piece and doing that every couple of months, as opposed to, I mean, we could probably go take out a loan if we wanted to and a line of credit and buy everything all at once. But I enjoy this.
We could have got. There was like talk. We had this. There's a whole other box that has 0 in that.
Right.
And there's a reason. Like now, I have a wish list in my head, and if one of those things come up and it's a good deal, then maybe we'll get them. But it's bigger than 6.
Yeah.
Right. Like But we weren't going to move there. We just bought the box. Now we didn't even buy the box because we didn't trust ourselves. Like. Because I wanted to make sure that what we were using on a day-to-day on this side was really working. And it's all about workflow too. Like, how are you actually going to be using these things?
Right.
And, so now we've kind of got a workflow going where I think, investing in more EQs and more outboard compression is where we're headed.
That's cool.
We've really relied on Tristan's gear, and it's been amazing. But you want other colors too.
Yeah, for sure. What's over here? A Space Echo?
Yep, that's a Space Echo that we've.
That looks like it's in really great shape.
It is. It's bonkers occasionally.
Okay.
Where it just starts looping things. In insane ways, and then it's worked well.
That's what they say about the hardware versus the plugins, is that you'll never have a plugin go wild on you. You know what I mean?
Totally.
It'll always sound the exact same every session.
It may say it won't open in some session for some reason.
Yeah, that's right, and reinstall it. Yeah, I had the task of just the other day of having a plug-in crash Pro Tools and having to go into the folder and find which one it was. So it was a couple hours of removing, dragging.
And this rack is mainly from our cellist's father.
Okay.
Yeah, he had a bunch of stuff back when he was recording more with just analog. He kind of made the digital switch. He's actually a professor over at OCAD.
Cool.
That's how we ended up meeting Anna. He taught like a sound design kind of like art music course that I was taking, and he was doing like this avant-garde show, and ended up
So what is this here? Like,
so there's two EQs, and there's a delay unit, a Roland delay unit, and a vocoder.
Oh wow!
It's something we need to dive into more.
Yeah, that EQ looks crazy. Do you use that? What kind of stuff do you use that on?
We barely like even powered them up. It's just been like one of those things where I was talking about like this side, and we're just moving over to this side.
That's great. You know, it's funny, the lunchbox, we were talking about earlier about the guitar effects being like baseball cards, but I find that for some people, the lunchboxes are like just a way to collect gear.
Yeah, I think that could happen.
People always like getting one of something or two of a bunch of different things. It's cool, and everyone's lunchbox is different.
Yes. Yeah, like I haven't seen that lunchbox yet, and I'm excited to fill this in the next few months.
What's something you have on your wish list?
Harrison EQs.
Yeah, the Harrison EQs I really would like quite a bit.
That's the SSL style?
Mag stuff too. Yeah, SSL style.
Yeah.
The mag, yeah, I've heard good things about that. So you're looking more for EQs.
I think there are.
You got a lot of pre's
too.
Yeah, the pre's like I would like to get the BAE 1073 500, maybe a couple more, and then we're kind of good in that.
Yeah,
like
for sure.
Where
do you use the pre's in the Apollo?
We don't have any.
This one doesn't come with it. The other versions did.
The 8 had.
Oh, okay.
But this is just.
I thought they all came with 4, but maybe.
Yeah, we were kind of banking on that when we bought this one. Then we're like,
Yeah. Now I think it worked out in the end.
But 16. Oh, okay. Maybe that's why, because it's 16.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I've heard I've heard good things about the built-ins that are with the. I think it was the 8 has 2 built-ins, and they're pretty smooth and nice. But
yeah, and then I think they do have one. I think it's the 8P that has 8 of them. 8 preamps. I don't know. But then that's more power that you're using up to with their emulations.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
What a tricky game.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so I just want to real quick, you've got a ton of pedals here, and I was saying earlier about how I really want to step up my game. Let's talk about the Rats here. What you've got 2 different ones?
Yeah, two different eras.
Okay, where are these? When are these from?
So 81.
Wow.
Weird era. We found out recently it's like more rare than we thought it was.
Really?
It's like it's got a tone knob, which is rare in itself, but like the tone knob ones had different art than that.
Yeah.
So it was like this weird super anomaly.
Wow.
It sounds amazing. It's like,
And that's probably like the next year.
yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. But they sound different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're different characters, but they're both like amazing. Like we use them a lot. Right now mine needs a little bit of work on just this came out just the last month. So it's been a pain since I bought it. I keep having to get it fixed, but it's great. They get used on a lot of guitars and sometimes we process vocals with them.
Oh, interesting. Totally. Interesting.
Yeah, it's a good way to get.
Did you do that on the Basement Revolver record?
No.
I don't think so.
Maybe I
But
was thinking of
we
something
have
else.
The Dirty Nil record.
Dirty Nil, yeah.
Oh, cool. But that's after in mixing you do that?
In mixing, yeah.
Oh, cool.
It's good for like getting a vocal louder without volume, I guess.
Right.
Like it just seems to go like this in the mix.
Oh, cool. I gotta try that.
Yeah.
So what's this here?
This is a
like,
Klon Centaur.
And is this like one of the originals?
One of the originals, yeah.
Oh my gosh, these are like absurdly priced, aren't they?
They are now. I bought it from Bill Finnegan in 2000.
Is this stuff that you used in the rest?
Yes, I
What
used
did
that.
you play in the rest?
I played a little bit of everything. Like I played guitar and
Okay.
keys, and I mean most of us floated.
Yeah, like
around.
I would play keys and guitar, but that was always pretty well always used.
What makes these? And it's a boost, essentially, right?
Yeah, it's an overdrive. It's basically an amp in a box.
Really?
So, I could take an uninspired amp and run that. You can run a DI channel. We just started doing that when someone's in a room and we want a good sounding guitar, and we were always finding some plug-in to do it, and always having these shitty tones. We threw that in, and the guys were like, well, maybe we should use this. And it was like, well, let's not go that far. But
for scratch tracks?
Yeah, for
wow.
scratch tracks.
Amazing.
And then people come in here and they almost, I don't know, 75% of the time end up using that in a chain. Like
Real guitar guys too, like see that and it's like instant boner.
Yeah.
You know?
and the thing is, it's not worth the money. Like I wouldn't buy it's part legend now.
Right.
But I can't get rid of it either because it's
you can't buy
my
it back.
favorite piece of guitar gear.
That's cool. That's cool. So what do we got here? Phaser.
Yeah.
And ring modulator. So would you use these? You do a lot of synth stuff too, right?
Yeah. So Jordan and I in our new a lot of the new music we're making right now, which we don't know what we're going to do with it, but we don't play guitars at all anymore.
Right.
So we've also we worked on MA's record, and basically he's made this hip hop record that's like this huge conceptual piece, and he wanted us to tie it together, and we did an ambient piece using his music as the source, and then we ran it through various pedals, some of the Moog, some of the other ones, and then kind of created something that flows through the whole record that way.
That's awesome.
But yeah, they'll get used on mixed stuff.
Well, I was just recently. This is great. How old is this?
I've had him for over
2005,
okay.
6 years.
yeah, it's 10 years now.
I just recently was experimenting with guitar pedals as a hardware insert in Pro Tools, and I was playing with my buddy's Blue Sky because it's stereo, so I was feeding it back in stereo, and it's really cool to physically
Do something
while you're playing back in Pro Tools, and I, like you, I'm just a small little room, but don't have a control room, so it's not something I can't dial in sounds while someone else is playing.
Yeah,
so it's nice to be listening back, and so I was doing with the Blue Sky, and then I was actually even trying it out with a Phase 90. Just it's fun.
That's why
cool.
we'll process so much after the fact. You know, if you have like a great channel with a great microphone and a great pre, you're gonna have a really great source to work with.
Yeah.
And then you can do lots of things. We can use different hardware. Like
That's
the
smart.
Eventide Space is basically a piece of rack gear in a box. You know.
Is this just a reverb?
And it's a reverb unit. And again, like we haven't even explored all of the options with that.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of these guys. My buddy has a. What is it called?
Z-Vex.
Yeah, the tape kind of.
Oh, okay.
Or it has like a tape sound.
Yeah.
So that's the Fuzz
Flutter one.
Factory.
Okay.
So that
great.
again, it's very temperamental. It's only battery charged, so where the battery's at could change the sound. So I used to tour with it, and it drove me crazy.
Oh my gosh.
From night to night, because I'd have the same settings and it'd be completely different.
Oh wow.
But we use it in the studio a lot.
Yeah, that's cool. A big muff here. This is something I like to put on my list just because it's a classic.
It's a classic that mostly sits at the back there.
Really? I'll buy it off you.
No, I really like the big muff, but it's one of those things where if you
more
don't
likely
want
to go
that, way more likely to go with the rats.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're more versatile.
Okay.
There's I don't know. They seem to like translate better in terms of distortion to a record.
Yeah.
Than the Big Muff does.
Yeah, like
I mean, depends on the kind of
Jay
record
from
you're
Dinosaur
making.
Jr. would disagree with us probably, but like there's some great sounds with the Big Muff, but like I've only ever really liked one of the sounds, and if you're not looking for that sound on a record, which you're not all the time,
right? Yeah.
We don't end up using it.
Speaking of something like that, if you were to look at like the top 10 pedals of all time, I think this would be on it here. I'm not too familiar with it, but
yeah,
I mean, this is a classic.
Yeah, I used to use it in kind of the early years of the band. It's an amazing pedal that I always like at the end of a session go, I should have tried that with something. Like it doesn't get used as much in the last few years.
And you can just run through it too. You don't have to actually engage it in a way to get a sound, right?
No.
Yeah.
Amazing. Got a Memory Man Deluxe here. That's cool.
It gets used a
Is
lot.
that stereo? Can it be stereo?
No.
Oh,
No.
okay. You use this a lot?
Use it a lot, yeah. And again, we've ran vocals through it. We've other pieces of keyboards.
Oh, for sure. I just saw
guitars.
a deluxe Big Muff come up online for $200. That kind of looked interesting, but I think it was a deluxe Big Muff. Does that exist?
I've never seen it.
Yeah,
Let's cut that out.
I was like,
I
okay.
swear, I'll send you the link.
There is so many Electro Harmonics pedals now, though, so you might be right.
or it could be one of these clones. Like, what was the one that Dwayne used to have in our band? Like a Big Beaver or whatever, and it was like a Big Muff with 3 different channels. That would be something I would love to have in here because it basically you can really dial in the tone. That's the problem sometimes with the Big Muff is like this is
what you get.
Like there are knobs and the same amount of knobs as the Rat, but for whatever reason I just find the Rat you can dial in and the Big Muff.
Interesting.
I haven't had that success.
Well, I'm going to do some research on the deluxe Big Muff, and I'll send you.
Yeah.
I hope I'm right. I may have just been late at night and I was asleep. And so, what is the size of this room?
It's just under 500 square feet.
Okay, that's really cool. And so we've got barn board on the walls. Mm-hmm. I think that's. I mean, aside from it sounds good, right? But it looks really cool.
Yeah, it's great. Jordan found like an amazing deal up in Port Dover where there's all these rough cuts and like they're very oddly shaped.
That's right. They're not the same size either.
No.
Yeah.
And working with sometimes they're different at one end than the other. So
it gets really tricky.
So we could have planed them down, but it's actually like it's worked out really, really well. It has a nice character to the room, and we were going to stain them, and now we decided, why the hell are we staining them? So we ran out of board, it was in the just before the winter, and we ran out just as before we were able to finish, and then we weren't able to get back out there. So that'll be completed probably in the next few weeks.
Oh, good, good. What's the weather like out here in the winter?
We're able to keep it unless it goes like
stupid cold.
minus
Yeah.
25. You can keep this like a home.
That's cool. And you're in quite a residential space. Like, are you any trouble for the neighbors?
No, like most of the time, you can't even hear what we're doing. So
That's nice. That's the advantage of building from scratch, right? Because really,
we're just keep trying to improve that with like even just we have a small window and we're gonna put a box there. But like no one would even know we're working out here 99% of the time.
do most people not know that there's a studio?
I don't
here?
think so.
That's a good way to keep it, probably.
Yeah.
I mean, it's cool. I driving by, like, I was like, okay, this is the address, and then I even came into the backyard, and there's like a tiny little gray shed there, and I was like, that can't be it. I hope. Otherwise, he's using a fisheye lens on Instagram. So the roof here. So you got the barn board on the roof, and the joists are a nice touch. Beautiful.
Yeah, we left the trusses exposed. It was a little bit of negotiating for the permit to do that, but we were able.
It's insulated on top of that?
Yeah,
Okay,
insulated. Everything has 2 layers of drywall and more insulation behind it, and there's green glue on everything.
Okay.
Which is this amazing product that basically turns, I think, in a simple explanation, it turns like sound into heat or something like that.
Oh, nice.
But you could notice the difference. You like knock on the wall, and we were just doing it, and you'd knock on it and be like dead.
Wow.
And that would be minutes later.
Yeah.
So
cool.
it's been great.
That's cool. And the lighting, we were talking about that coming in, so beautiful. That's really nice touch. It's a really cool vibe that it has, and it's nice that I think not all engineers or musicians care about the way something looks or the way something feels, like their environment, but
you want people to. I want to feel good being in here. I want other people to feel good. Like this diffuser wall.
You told me this was a kit, right? Or this was a pattern.
It's
right?
a pattern.
It's intentional.
It's intentional.
Wow.
So for I would say 95%. There's occasionally places where it was like, I've ran out of wood and I've got this thing and I want to finish this row today. So that's
how long did it take you to put this together?
2 years.
Wow.
Yeah, like 1 million cuts. 1 million.
Yeah, like you do like 4 rows, and it wouldn't take that long to do 4 rows, maybe half an hour or something.
Yeah.
But like you'd stop because you wanted it to settle.
Right.
And then you
glue them?
We glued them and then we reinforced them in certain places.
Oh man.
I got this chop saw at home that we were chopping all these with. We had 2 chop saws, but most of this was the one in my house. And I was down to like, okay, I've got 1 board left, and it was like 1 chop left. And the last chop, like my chop saw is kind of messed up.
Yeah.
The actual board turned. And it was like, oh no! And like I thought I was going to cut my hand off on the last cut of that.
The last cut
thing.
of the whole.
And for the
Did
most
you start
part,
from the bottom?
Yep. Okay. Started from the bottom. And then above here is going to be a mosaic of cassette tapes. I've just got the remainder of cassettes I needed to do it.
Really?
So
where'd you find them all?
People would have cassettes. I put it out there, and one guy was nice enough. He just came over. He wanted to see the studio and dropped off like 100 cassettes. I wasn't using them anymore, or I'd find someone was selling like 50 cassettes for $5 or something. So it's not going to take. I don't know how many it's going to take, to be honest. I think I have enough.
That's cool. I could talk to you about. I'd love to talk to you sometime about cassettes because I think they're a ton of fun, and I think they make sense as a good option for indie bands.
Yeah, vinyl's so expensive, and often people are just wanting these as mementos. Like they're not crazy people like me that are, getting to sit in their house and play vinyl all day because they don't.
That's
have
right.
That.
And vinyl
space.
collectors there's a niche there, but I've heard that a percentage, I don't know what the percentage is, but there's a percentage of vinyl collectors who don't even listen to
Never
them.
listen to them.
Yeah, there's a
I
group
believe
of
it.
people, yeah.
And cassettes are the same way.
Yeah.
They're getting a
Oh,
cassette
yeah.
for a physical
Oh, yeah.
item as a memento of maybe going to that show or
Yep.
just being supportive of the audience.
Yeah.
You know,
And a lot of
patrons.
it's a response. I think it's just a subconscious response to digital, saying that digital is more convenient to listen to music, but you do want something. You want to support the band, but you feel like you want to own something, own the record. But anyway, I love cassettes. They're cheap to make, and for me, it's, I don't know when you grew up, but for me, it's so nostalgia. I didn't grow up with vinyl. When I was a kid in the '80s, it was cassettes. Music World had
it was kind of about
cassettes.
the same. Like we had both in the house. Like I'd play, you know, I remember for like probably a year, and one of my earliest memories is like playing Beatles records and then wanting other people to get into the Beatles. So what I would do is like I thought to get the emotion right, to them to sense what I was feeling, I would take a Fisher-Price recorder and I would record myself singing along to the Beatles vinyl. And when I would show people the Beatles, I would show the cassette of me singing along. Because
Why did you sing?
Because I was feeling it, right? So I would feel these songs. I'd be feeling, you know, Let It Be or something, and I would sing Let It Be, and I'd be like, now they're going to understand what this means to me. Like, it's like as a 5-year-old. And so I'd show people the Beatles, and they'd never heard of the Beatles, you know, these other 5-year-olds, and they'd be like, what is this? This is terrible. Like,
the problem is those 5-year-olds now grew up to thinking that the Beatles sounded like your voice.
Yeah, they have no idea. I ruined it for everyone.
Or maybe when they listen to real Beatles, like, this isn't how I remember it.
No.
This isn't as good.
This doesn't have that pure emotion, the pure joy of music.
You know, George, Paul, and Adam. Those guys. Oh, that's cool. Well, I think that would look really great up here. And you got some great synths. I see a Juno over there speaking about things that are absurdly priced.
Yeah, they've gone nuts too in the last bunch of years. So,
what do you like over here on your collection? Looks like you take it pretty serious.
Yeah, like it's a big thing for us. I think a lot of the music that we're making right now is built around this. But they also, when we're playing on other people's records, it often is like this string ensemble, which is the ARP string ensemble. We will just, you know, you want something kind of lush in the background, it's like a go-to. It's incredible.
Well, it's nice to have options like that for artists. They probably like coming in here and
we just
pick one.
Yeah, like, and that's the other thing. If somebody wants something on the record is like an overdub or, you know, we're not. It's funny. A lot of the music that we're making might be considered dance music, but we're not really working in that field with other people right now.
Right.
But yeah, like they get a lot of use. Not as much as I would like. You know, a few of them we've just finally got serviced. You know, there's an original polyphonic Moog over there, which is like the first polyphonic synth. Wow. And I haven't been able to test it since it came in like a month ago. Because it wasn't working properly before.
Right.
So we've been so busy, and I just keep looking at it and being like, God damn it, all I want to do is play polyphonic synth. But, you know, there'll be time for that.
There'll be time when you're retired. Yeah. Well, listen, thanks a lot, guys. It's a really cool place you have. I appreciate your time and chatting with us. And I love the music you guys make. And I love I realize I say vibe too much, but I just love the feeling that you have in here. What are these mics up here hanging? I just noticed those now. Sorry.
SM81s.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
A buddy of mine has one of those. And,
yeah, we don't move them because whatever happened by accident has been incredible.
You found the spot for them?
Yeah. So
that's great.
We weren't like enthralled befwell, and I think we just found like the perfect application for us as an overhead.
Yeah.
Is it your main overheads?
Often the 87
we
works.
use an 87 as well, kind of as a mono one for the drum kit.
Nice.
But this is great because like it's always up there, and if you just need an overhead, like you're doing somebody singing, and you want a room tone,
Put them there.
you know.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Like my idea eventually is to have, which I don't know if it'll ever happen now, but just running lines in various places. So you can just go over
That's a great
play
idea.
some. Like even
Yeah.
with the synths, I imagine like having one of those bookshelf ladders where you just be like flying around. So eventually it'll just be like I'll just be flying
Yes.
around playing synthesizers all day, losing my mind. In a cape, but nothing else.
Yeah. And they come in here. Yeah, that's funny. All right, guys. Thanks a lot. Very cool.
Thanks for coming by.
Yeah, it's awesome.